TikTok, it's time to rock. Welcome, folks, to the Sunday show, to the ranking of the tracks. Brad, good to see you, brother.
Good to see you guys.
Yeah, I saw you midweek, bro. And we had a good live stream a couple of days ago. And Rock Professor, good to see you on the channel. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for inviting me on Wednesday. Clearly, you forgot about me, and then you missed all the salient points about Mr. Stacey's latest record, for which I'd be A, admonishing you, and B, just running you through some in just a second. When you
we didn't invite you.
I know, because you clearly, and didn't it show?
Yeah, we'll take that. We'll take that one. But I've got to remind folks also that on Sunday we did a Zoso show and got some good views on that, guys. So congratulations and thank you if people in the chat supported us by sharing that on some links. We always appreciate every little bit of help you can give us.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, look, Simon, it was a last-minute show, and we actually won. I got the announcement, won the T-shirt, and Andrew goes, "Oh, let's go live." And I know that it was all last minute, so but we did dearly miss you, and like you said, all the points that were probably important for the show were sadly missed. So,
yeah. You had some news about that show that we did, bro, that you want to share with us.
Yes. Thanks for reminding me, Andrew. Philip Sace actually shared our show that we did on Wednesday, just gone, on his Facebook, on his social media. So thank you, Philip. We really appreciate that. I mean, you know, it all helps the growth of the channel, but we're just trying to spread the word, you know, of fantastic musicians and music and just sharing the love. That's it. So that's Philip's way of sharing back. So thank you, my dear friend.
Yeah, that's cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
And this is a good opportunity to remind you folks, if you don't already subscribe or have an account on Instagram, go and open up an account and subscribe to Brad Cook Music, and you'll find the Rock Professor over there at Simon Williams 33. Instagram's still a hot place. It's the place to be. If you're not there, you should be there. It's really interesting to catch up and see what people are doing from a really good creative perspective. But also, Simon and Brad, again, Brad, you've got another story to tell us that was hilarious. So before you jump in with your story, I'm just going to remind folks, it's a thing that we've been pushing a little bit on the channel, Eric Clapton's full SG, Gibson SG, the famous one that he played pretty much right through the career of Cream, went up for auction and sold for $1.25 million US, Simon, which is a lot of money, clearly a lot of money. But most of the people that commented on my post said, well, they were surprised. I thought that it would get $2 million. But Brad, you've got something really interesting to add.
Well, I was just having a bit of fun because I saw on the Instagram page it got shared that it sold, and what was it, 1.25 mil or whatever it was, and I just shared it saying sorry to the people who bid on this, and I won it. I apologize, and I was getting people congratulating me that I won the full guitar. And then on the next story I shared that I won the 50 and then there was another post that they posted that Slash's Corvette sold for just under 300,000 US, and I thought I'm going to share that too. And I said, so I just snapped this up at a bargain too. And people
Want something to take the guitars home with? Yes.
I want to sincerely thank everyone for assuming that I can afford to pay that sort of money, but I am a struggling musician, so I'm going to straight out say blatantly here, I didn't win the auctions. I was just mucking around. But I was getting people congratulating me on Instagram. I'm like,
oh,
really?
dear.
Did people assume that I can go 1.25 on a guitar? Don't think so. But that would have been a dream guitar to actually get that one, guys, in all fairness. I would have loved to have gotten that, the full. That would be... Yeah,
as you said, Andrew, it going for 1.25 million. Clearly, and as a lot of people have been saying, clearly the bottom has fallen out of the second-hand market. And there's proof, if proof were needed, that it went for a lot less than people were thinking it was going to go. Just proves
that
is
true. That is true. True.
So, I don't know if it's more future-proof than that, but. It did strike me as amusing that that it went for less. You think, oh, let the bottoms fall out of the second-hand market.
Yeah.
Well, 1.2 is still a hell of a lot of money, isn't it? And it's on one post or one comment that I got on one of my posts, someone said it was the highest amount that Clapton had received for any of his guitars, including the lot that he sold at Christie's, Brad and Simon. And one other point I wanted to make too, and I think it was mentioned closely, but mentioned to me by someone that's close. Clapton didn't sell the guitar, folks. It was another private collector who owned the guitar. If Clapton was going to sell that guitar, it would have gone to charity. Clapton wouldn't sell it and bank the money, Brad.
No. Oh, well, I'm glad you brought that up, Andrew, because that was something that at first I was assuming that it was a collector, and then someone told me, no, it's Clapton, and I thought, well, if Clapton was doing that, he would have done it for his Crossroads
that's right.
foundation. So anyway, I didn't think Clapton still had his hands on that guitar. So I'm glad you brought that up, Andrew. That's an important point.
No problem. Rock Professor, we've got lots of people in the chat here.
Yes,
including Ryan Hall, a very good friend of the channel.
Yes.
Do you want to do a shout out?
I will, yes. Good morning to Ellen, of course. Good morning, Ellen. Hope you're well. And Holly as well, Holly Lewis. Hope the weather improves, Holly. Sounds like you're going to have to get a nasty one. John ZD 351. Morning, John. Hope you're well. Greg Roberts June.
Trouble.
Morning, Greg. Trouble. Only in a good way, though. Ryan Hall. Yes, good morning, Ryan. Good to see you. I think that's everyone who's commented right now. So anybody else, if you comment, I'll say hello. Good morning. That's fantastic. Thanks for joining. Good to see everyone. Hope we're all good.
Also, guys, I just wanted to, congrats to Sammy Hagar. I just wanted to say, he's going out doing what the fans want. He's picked a band. He's got Jason Bonham on drums. He's got obviously Michael Anthony on bass, who's his left or right hand man, whichever you want to call it. And the amazing Joe Satriani. So I know they did a little bit on Howard Stern, but it sounds like they hadn't even rehearsed properly for it. And it still sounded pretty good from what I can see. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that tour transpires. And please bring it to Australia. Please.
And New Zealand, come on. Bro, I'm glad that you mentioned that. We should spend a couple of minutes talking about that because I think it's a salient point for what we do here on the channel, i.e. Van Halen being a big topic.
Yeah.
That we try and at least talk about on the channel. So I agree with you. I think this is a fantastic thing. We know that these guys, minus the drummer, have played together in Chickenfoot, so we know they've got pedigree, they've got history there, Simon. Joe Satriani is one of the greatest guitar players in the world. Sammy still sounds fantastic.
Yeah, for his age, he's doing such a great job. And I know they tuned down a little bit and stuff like that, but you know what? God bless them for still getting out there and playing the music that we all love. Obviously there's been nothing since Ed passed in relation to something to celebrate Ed's life. So if these guys can get out and just keep playing their music, then that, in my opinion, is spreading the love, spreading the Van Halen love. And from my understanding, how they're talking is they will be doing like what the Circle do, playing a mixed bag of everything, but they'll be focusing a lot more on Van Halen.
So this is where, folks, it gets a little bit tricky. And we're not going to avoid the tricky little dicky on this show. But this is where it gets a little bit tricky, because some fans are having a go at Sammy Hagar because Sammy Hagar is doing this because because Alex Van Halen's not involved. So isn't it interesting how Sammy Hagar is getting kicked in the nuts because Alex Van Halen's not there?
Well, Alex is not doing anything, and he hasn't done anything. He set out to do something, as we all know, with Satriani and Jason Newsted for a bit, and it didn't transpire. And probably a lot of that has to do with David Lee Roth as well. And as far as I'm concerned, if that had gone ahead, that would have been fantastic too. I'm not saying which is better or worse, but I'm happy that the other half are doing it at least. You know what I mean? It's long overdue, and I think Wolf playing Van Halen stuff at that Taylor Hawkins thing was a bit of closure for Wolf, which is fantastic. But these guys want to go out and celebrate Ed's playing and music, and I'm sick of reading all the stuff that's negative, including about Satch and this and that. Like Satriani, he plays his style. He's not going to be Ed Van Halen. He's just trying to go out and help the guys play the music. And he'll really, there's other players that I can think that would do just as good a job as well. But I think Satch is a great choice because he's worked with Sammy and Michael Anthony before. So why the hell not? Why the hell not?
I'd pay $300 to go and see them. I would, and we're going to celebrate that, and we're going to push that, and we're going to talk about that on this channel as it progresses, folks, and also on our social media links, because as Brad articulated there right for you, this is a positive thing. And if you think it sucks, Simon, no, I won't swear. If you think it sucks, well,
move on.
There is no right answer in the Van Halen world, is there? There is no right answer.
No.
You took the words out of my mouth. You took the words out of my mouth, Simon. I was just about to say there's no pleasing Van Halen fans for some reason. There'll be half that love it, half that hate it, but everyone complains about it. It's like, well, just enjoy it for what it is. It's never going to be Van Halen. It's never going to be Van Halen without Ed. So we know that, but we all love the music so much, and I'm more than happy to do a whole show on this, Andrew, at some point if you ever wanted to. But
we will. We're going to do something, so I'll keep you in the loop for a Van Halen show that's coming up very soon on the channel. So I'd love to get you on. But there's a great comment there again from John ZD351, the trolls saying Dave and Alex should be involved, can go and get. We know what that means. They had their chance and they didn't want to. Exactly. The rest of the world can do what the rest of the world wants to do. Yeah.
Look, I mean, really, guys, just one more thing and we'll get straight onto it because I know we're sort of deviating from the rankings. But if Alex and Dave had have done something with, say, even if Michael Anthony was part of it, Sammy Hagar Jones, Gary Sharon, say Nuno, Satriani, Peter Thorne. But Pete Thorne plays stuff pretty darn close, if not perfect. Then you've got great players in Van Halen tributes that are doing it as well. There's even like our Aussie mate Simon Hosford. He'd be amazing to do that. But the point is, maybe these guys don't want the perfect player either. They want someone that's going to come and do their thing and just be. Satch is Satch. He's got his own reputation. He does his own thing. So it's great to hear him playing that music. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah, they had their chance,
But nobody else is allowed theirs, Brad. Nobody else.
No. That's right.
Yes, quite right.
Anyway, thanks, guys.
Do we say good morning to well, we've got Nelson, good morning Nelson, and Hugh Caldwell, Hobo Roadie, and Quentin, good morning Quentin, good to see you. So yeah, quite a lot of people leaping in, which is exciting, so that's good. Good to see everyone. It's fantastic. So just I'd just like to comment on the the British brew thing with Philip Sace. Clearly you've missed a couple of things I feel as I need to inform you on, because clearly you weren't paying attention properly. Without me, it's like only half the orange has turned up, hasn't it? So the title, you didn't say anything about the title. Bitches Brew refers to the Miles Davis album. Come on, guys, where were you?
Actually, you know what? It from my understanding, it's about a drink that Philip Sace had.
Yeah. I'm sure. Yes, it's right. Didn't you think that the weird middle section is just like Whole Lot of Love as well?
100%. But Simon, hold those thoughts, because we didn't do a ranking show. We didn't want to talk about it like that. We thought when the album comes out, we'll do a ranking of the tracks and hold those thoughts. Let's not put the cat out in front of cat out of the bag too soon. Yeah.
Oh
anyway,
dear.
We have a show to do, gentlemen. So
yes, as usual, it's taken us 20 minutes to get to the We'll get complaints. You lot don't get on and just get on with it, do you? No. No money rolling my way.
Well,
so anyway, this week I have chosen Dr. Feelgood's Stupidity. Now I realise, of course, this is a bit of a niche taste in the world. And I don't think they made much of an impression necessarily in the US, and I probably not much of an impression in the Antipodes either. But it's in the UK, they were huge for a bit, and their influences were amazing. It's so they were formed in Canvey Island, the Essex coastal region, which is an island. But in 1971, by Wilko Johnson, Lee Brillo, and John Sparks, who were all members. Canvey Island is a weird place and has a kind of a musical heritage all of its own. And then it was doing R&B. It was a big kind of R&B. I don't mean modern R&B. I mean R&B like the Rolling Stones R&B. And they got together and they took their name from a 1962 record by the American blues pianist and singer Willie Perryman, also known as Piano Red, called Dr. Feelgood, which Perryman recorded under the name of Dr. Feelgood and the Interns. The song was covered by several British beat groups in the 1960s, including Johnny Kidd and the Pirates. Keep that in mind, kids, because that's important. By late 1973, the band's R&B influence made them one of the most popular bands on the growing London pub rock scene. Now, this won't mean anything outside, but morning, Johnny. Yes, it's not Motley Crue, not that one. Nice. In the mid 1970s in London, there was this, music had got got big. People started to play stadiums and stuff, and the Stones and Led Zeppelin, and it got very big. But underneath it, there was this kind of back to grassroots thing, which may sound a bit familiar in many ways. And in London particularly, Dave Robinson, who's the guy who started Stiff Records, he was looking around for something to do and started hiring out these pubs and putting on local bands, So, and in that pub rock circuit were bands like Kilburn and the High Roads, who became Ian Dury and the Blockheads, groups called Duck Deluxe, Brinsley Schwartz, which had Nick Lowe in them, Bees Make Honey, and they all played at pubs like the Lord Nelson, the Hope and Anchor, the Red Cow, and the Nashville, all these places. And there was a really big scene in London about it. They recorded their album Down by the Jetty in 1974, and I would like to tell you in mono, by the way, because mono's the way forward in 1974. Not for them, this newfangled thing called stereo, certainly not. And they built up a dedicated following because they toured, and they, as we'll see in a bit, known for their high energy and intense live performances. They did another album in '75 called Malpractice, and then added to their popularity, and then they decided to put out a live album, Stupidity, which is the one we're doing today, without the extravagances of prog, glam, and classic rock, and none of your stereo or overdubbing or anything like that. They just went ahead and did it as a record of their live performances. Clearly, the man in the middle of it all, Wilko Johnson, had his own style of playing the guitar, and we can get into that. I think Andrew's got a little video of him showing how he does it, which is was kind of copied from a bloke called Mick Green, who played in a British group called Johnny Kidd and the Pirates, who had a hit called Shaking All Over. And he had this combination of brief licks put into the gaps of a staccato rhythm playing. But just the right hand just goes up and down, and no plectrum, by the way, either. Wilko Johnson plays without a plectrum. Wilko said that he tried to copy Mick Green, but of course it turned out not quite Mick Green, and turned into what Wilko Johnson did, was just something slightly different, and including quite a lot faster than Mick Green. And I've seen Mick Green play. I saw him play. He supported Dave Edmunds once in Bristol, and he's fantastic. But in that sort of style, that that integration of those two things. But so yes, so Wilko sped it up, no doubt driven by the copious amounts of amphetamines ingested during the 70s. I mean, and clearly, the resulting intensity really fired up and was a seminal thing in a lot of punk bands. A lot of punk people like Joe Strummer were on the same circuit as Dr. Feelgood. He was in a group called the 101ers before he was in the Clash, doing much more kind of standard, R&B stuff. So he would have, that all those London, punk bands would have come across the Feelgoods, and the attitude and the the sort of short, sharp songs that that we'll get to was, and that kind of return to basics thing was very much, fueled the the whole punk thing from 76 onwards, 76, 77, 78, people going up. And I know there was a seminal British punk fanzine called Sniffing Glue that yes, I know, yes, that was run by a bloke, one and partly by Danny Baker, the broadcaster, and they did quite a lot of stuff about Dr. Feelgood in their thing, even though you wouldn't necessarily have said that Dr. Feelgood were punk, but their influence was certainly fed into that in a big way. I mean, one of the seminal. I know that my friend Nick Shepherd, who played in Bristol's #1 punk band, the Cortinas, and went on to be in the Clash. Did they, Feelgood were definitely a seminal influence for him, in attitude and in stuff and so on. And of course, Eddie and the Hot Rods as well as the other great Canvey Island exports to. But there were others as well, the Kersal Flyers. So, if you want to know more, there's a fantastic film by Julian Temple called Oil City Confidential that goes into it. I think it's on Amazon Prime. I think it's and and it's well worth having a look if you want to know all the history of the Feelgoods and how they formed, and that kind of weird place called Canvey Island, which has a unique kind of atmosphere and a place all of its own. So as I've said, Stupidity is their third album, live, and released in September 1976, and it topped the UK charts. So it was very successful and very very well regarded as a thing. It's I don't it was one of those ones that captured a sort of zeitgeist thing, an alternative zeitgeist. I don't think it did anything anywhere else particularly, but it was big here and big on the influence, and they were the instant kings of a scene where future punks were learning their trade. So I think that they were they looked like gangsters. A firm come to London to do a gig, hit and run. Wilco's bulging eyes staring from the stage were as extreme as kabuki. So I'll give you an idea about what they were like. So that's a bit of background on Dr. Feelgood and Stupidity. So if we'll get into the track listing, if you like.
Let's do it. Sounds good.
Of which there aren't many, but there's quite a lot. But there's
they're short songs though. They're very short.
They are short. Yes. Oh yeah. They didn't mess about, did they? Yes.
For the majority. Yeah.
One of them's 5 minutes, but the rest of them aren't.
For the most part, nice and short.
I mean, I suppose we should ask: Have you heard this record before, guys? Andrew, Brad, have you come across this record before, particularly?
Andrew, you want to go first?
No, not this record. The first album that you mentioned was definitely one that was in discussion quite a lot, and I've got to thank Carl. This album, I got to give credit where credit's due. This album here, Down by the Jetty, that the Rock Professor mentioned. Yeah. So in one of the conversations that we had, many conversations we had about music, Dr. Feelgood came up. So I do remember, a couple of the songs, hearing a couple of the songs, but I'll admit, up until about 10 years ago, I didn't know anything, and I still don't know anything about them now. But I was intrigued by the guitar style of the guitar player, because that was the big part of the conversation that Carl and I were having. We did some research, and that style that he uses is, a style that the clawhammer banjo players in the States use. A lot of the black guys, Brad, when they're playing resonators, they use that style as well, you see, so they can hit that guitar to get that booming percussive sound. So certainly not unique to Wilco, and the Rock Professor's already mentioned that because he got it off someone else. But nevertheless, it's a technique and a style that you have to practice. And I think that's one of the great things about this band, Simon. It was that kind of sound that was a little bit different from everyone else's. And before I just pass it over to Brad, I've got to also talk about the class background of these guys and who they were orientating to. And the Rock Professor's giving you some hints with the burgeoning punk rock scene, which was probably connected to working class politics to some degree back in the day. But these guys orientated their music to the working men's clubs and the kids of the people, Simon, that went to the working men's clubs. So it was that kind of tough, kind of English perspective that these bands deliberately went out and fostered a following from, as well as, the London crowd. Of course, you're going to have the London crowd. It's always going to be there. But some of those northern places, and we've got a clip of a film that we're going to show, and I'll put the link to that whole complete film. Go and watch it on YouTube. And, these industrial towns, Simon, that these guys are playing in and the people going to, they were tough people. Tough music,
Canvey Island
tough
was the
people.
First, Canvey Island was the first beach that you got if you went out east from London. Basically, the first kind of seaside place. It was on the Thames estuary, really, but in the shadow of the oil refinery. Slightly quote to Bruce Springsteen. But completely agree with you. It's kind of a very kind of working class thing, and background. But although Feelgoods were never political, but in the way that punk was.
Not at all. Not at
No,
all.
no.
They embraced the blues manifesto, which is just singing about the blues, and we'll talk about that obviously in a lot of the songs. But that's me, Brad. Your experiences with the band, bro, in this album?
Down by the Jetty, I'd heard that.
You got,
I'd heard one or two more of their albums. I can't remember which ones they were off the top of my head, to be honest with you. But I don't know a lot about Dr. Feelgood. This album in particular, Simon and Andrew, I hadn't ever listened to. So, so it's a fresh mindset while ranking this. So it's like a contemporary record for me because I haven't heard it. So, but in saying that, yeah, definitely down by the Jetty. I'd heard that quite a lot. But it's been a long time since I've listened to this band full stop. I think probably since the late 80s, late 90s, early 2000s, really. Yeah. It's been a while.
I chose this because it's the live album and it's got the sort of best known songs from the other albums on it, and plus it gives a good thing of it, really. And we could have chosen Down by the Jetty and we might do it in the future, but you know, I thought I'd go in with their number one album, if you like, kind of thing. You know, if anybody was interested in having a look at it, it's probably the representative. Cool.
Yeah. Play the video.
So we're going to do something a little bit different, folks, that we don't normally do. We're not monetized at the moment on the channel because I've been doing some naughty boy things behind the scenes, and hopefully in a couple of months' time we can generate a few cents. But in the meantime, we're happy to contribute to YouTube's financial growth because they're still making money off our channel.
Yes, bastards.
So we're going to play a video. If we won't get monetized for it because I've already explained to you why. If it gets blocked, I'll have to edit it out and I'll just mute it. But for our North American family friends here that aren't familiar with it, I think this little snip will just blow you away and sums up exactly where this band comes from.
Yeah.
Don't you think she says that nice? Yeah. And I'll tell you what, Dr. Feelgood say exactly that. She says it's so nice that they're going to sing, especially for you, Jan. She does it right. Ooh.
So basically what he's doing, folks, is he's just that finger there. That's all he's doing. He's simple. It's a simple technique, but it's simple, but like a lot of things, Brad, you got to do it a lot to get it right.
That's right.
Yeah.
I certainly can't play well like that. I struggle.
I can't either.
It's all about what you do with this hand, really, because are we going to play the film of him doing it later? You're not?
No, because that's definitely copyrighted.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, fine. Well, so basically the right hand just goes up and down. You just hit all of the strings all the time. And the left hand is the damping. So you're damping the strings and then, doing a little lick and stuff. And it's whilst you're doing it, it's I know.
You got it, John. You got it.
Bug-eyed walking back and forth, like machine gunning the audience.
And that's the whole that's the whole concert. It's phenomenal. That's all they do.
Yeah.
And the bass player's a little bit podgy, and he's quite cool too. And he stands and he swings in and he gets.
Yeah, that's right. There we were. And Lee Brillo's doing this guy with his hands.
Nothing like having a podgy bass player in your band, Brad.
They know how to pack that bottom end,
Whoa!
Ooh. Oh dear. Absolutely, but pack the bottom end in, and you'll be fine. Oh dear. So anyway, well, that was quintessential Dr. Feelgood, really. What they were like, and
I can't believe you said that. I love it. I love the show.
Dear.
I've got no idea what you're talking about either.
It's all about the bass playing.
That's all right. It's all about the bass playing.
We're leaving that all to you, Andrew. Oh dear. So anyway, so we'll start off with as you could tell, track one, side one. We're doing side one, by the way, and side two because it's me. So track one is "Talking About You" by Chuck Berry, and I mean they do what they do with the feel good, you know. So it's a 1 minute 58. You know, there's no intro on this, by the way. They just come on and start playing. You know, Wilco starts just playing a sort of approximation of Chuck Berry, but not really, but kind of his own thing. And they do what you've just seen. Clearly, you know, he's racing up and down the stage, you know, with his coil lead that he has, machine gunning the audience and stabbing guitar lines and Librelo's doing his growling, menacing vocals kind of thing, you know, in that intense way, kind of brooding, intense way that is what he does. And you know, plenty of driving bass and, you know, drums and a little short solo, very short solo. In fact, 2 tiny solos. So there's a little coda one at the end as well. But it's all about the raw, live energy that they bring to it. Mark Tanner, good morning. Hope you're well. Nice to see you. That's fantastic. Got out of something. So great opening, great energetic opening, you know, and I give it 8 out of 10, but never a skip. It's and you know, shows what they can do. Opens a concert with a punch. Andrew.
Yeah, I just want to jump on the bandwagon too and say g'day to Mark. Good to see you, brother. Fantastic. And you've got a lot of brothers and sisters here saying hi and where have you been and how are you and all that kind of stuff. So good to see you, bro. I'm talking. So if you guys did some homework, you would have seen that I linked the playlist on the description because it's not on Spotify. So hopefully that's given you some kind of context for you if you're going to be joining us in the rankings. And if I've cocked up, forgive me. But look, I think the great thing about the opening track, and we saw it there with the video, folks, is that distinctive chop. And I'm going to call it that, the distinctive chop from Wilco, which is fantastic and amazing. As the rock professor described to you, it's a technique that's percussive in its style, but later on we find that he's able to link that into melodies as well. So, you know, let's just keep that in mind when we continue through the rankings. I love the cool end solo on this, Brad. He's got some crunch going on there. It's a fantastic opening track, and I too have given this 8 out of 10. Brad.
I think we're all on the money with this so far. I mean, look, Dr. Feelgood, they kick off this album. It's an electrifying performance of the song "Talking About You." I put Wilco, you know, to deliver that intense. I call it, you know, stabby, choppy, however you want to call it, sort of riffy guitar playing that he's known for, and Lee engaged like a really dynamic sort of vocal, and the rhythm section is just. They're just on the money, you know. They're just on it. They're keeping it really tight, consistent. It's got that energetic feel that they're known for. And what's his name? The nickname, the Big Figure on drums.
Big Figure, yeah, Big Figure.
He's pretty phenomenal. Just that feel he's got, you know, and obviously the bass player John is sort of locked into that really tight. We're all big about bottom end and rhythm sections on this show, so they provide that real tight and energetic sort of foundation for the song and for the album, actually, for the band. 8 out of 10 I put, and never a skip. So we're all on the money so far.
Yeah. I think that's absolutely right. So the second track is 20 Yards Behind, which is I think it's a feel good original. It's maybe not. I don't know. I don't think I could find another version of it. Again, it has that chop guitar, a bit like Fast Scar. It has that kind of that you might play if you were playing Scar on amphetamines. Is probably what this comes out like slightly. In this track, Librelow plays the harp as well, so it's a introduction of the harp you know, and let's not go too wild with this. It's you know, it's one of the few subtle things that go on in this record. It's a pretty straightforward rock and roll record. I think just to say that you know, it's only 20 years after Elvis. Don't forget, you know, and rock and roll was still really big in the UK. You know, there's a whole strand in the early 70s of bands like, you know, Mud and, you know, pop bands and what was it? The band, you know, that still had that very kind of 50s feel to them. You know, 12 bar 50s feel kind of thing. So, you know, they're in with the sort of you know, that clip you just showed of them on Top of the Pops, I think on one pop show, you know, it wouldn't have been out of place, particularly on the, you know, sound wise on that sort of show, and, you know, at this sort of time, it would have been, you know, right there as still a comparatively new thing. You know, it's as if you were playing something from 2003 for a comparison, that kind of thing. You know, but clearly that's where their influences were from the, you know, the late 50s, early 60s, and, you know, early Rolling Stones and stuff, you know, comes to mind as you know, same sort of well that the early Stones sort of were mining in '63, you know, back in that sort of thing. So this pretty much is that. It has that chopped fast car, and it does a kind of harp as a call and response with the vocals. Again, it's 2 minutes long. You know, bounces along, plenty great, some nice bass playing, and, you know, steady. As you said, the rhythm section are great. Hold it down. They know what to do. You know, they're not flash, but you know, and the other thing I'd say about it is that what you have to remember is, you know, they're playing in pubs and things, you know, where people danced, you know, and I know it sounds a bit weird that people might dance, but people would have been up and dancing to this, absolutely up and, you know, rocking and rolling in the aisles to, you know, and I think that's an important part of it, was that you've got, especially in pubs, you know, and I was just remembering, you've got people up to dance, you know. There's some film, you can find some film of those bands in pubs, and you know, people are dancing. You know, it looks a bit out of place these days, but it looks quite funny. But that's what they did. So I mean, I think it's worth, you know, saying that, you know, that these, you know, songs are about being able to dance to them in like that rock and roll thing. So I give this an 8 out of 10. Never a skip. Andrew.
G'day, Arvin. Good to see you, bro. Thanks for hanging out
Morning,
with us.
Arvin.
Yeah, look, there's some interesting stuff going on with this album, folks, and we can, again, talk about some connecting points that I'm going to make on this track later on some other ones coming up. But what I particularly liked about this track was the Paul Butterfield style harp playing on this track. It's an incredible piece of harp playing. You've got the bends and the tongue blocks, very much clear and defined, precise notes. Again, in that Paul Butterfield style. And we can talk about the harp playing later on, how that changes. But I was pleasantly surprised when I heard this, Simon, because normally you get a lot of distortion, Brad, coming through with some of these harp players when they're playing live. Not a lot of harp players, you know, can have that ability to play single notes or two notes and block it clearly. And we're assuming, you know, from the videos that I've seen, Simon, over the last 15 years, 10 years, it's Lee Brillo playing harp.
Yep.
Yeah. So just an incredible harp player. Brad, because of that, I'm giving it 9 out of 10, bro. Just about was going to give it a 10 out of 10, but just a fantastic example of these English cats playing harp phenomenally well. Brad.
Yeah, well, you guys have sort of summed it up pretty well. But the band, like, they've got this. I hear it as like this raw and stripped back sort of feel, and 20 yards behind obviously has that element to it. I mean, you're hearing Wilco, sort of that precise, and I'm calling them bluesy guitar playing. It's
Yep.
I'm hearing that there. The Lee's charismatic vocals and the harmonica, like you said, Andrew. I mentioned that I was quite are taken back by the harmonica playing because it's quite solid and there's a lot of soul behind it. It takes a bit of skill to. People think harmonica playing there's something simple about it, but to actually play it like this is quite difficult. And obviously that solid rhythmic backbone and bottom end, as I keep saying, from Sparko and the big figure. Without repeating anything you guys have already said, guys, I've given it a 9 out of 10, and definitely never a skip.
Yeah, I'm just going to jump in here and highlight, Brad, after your wonderful elaboration for us, John's comment. That's exactly what I thought too for years. When people spoke about Dr. Feelgood, I assumed Dr. Feelgood was Dr. John, and it wasn't until in my late 20s, Simon, when it was pointed that Dr. Feelgood, in fact, isn't an American band, it's an English band.
No. Yeah. But definitely taking on that American R&B thing.
Yeah. Sorry for interrupting, bro.
No,
your
that's cool.
Simon, next track.
Yeah. So the third track is Stupidity, which is a Solomon Burke song. And the original has quite a lot of horns on it and things, which clearly are not on here. So they've stripped it back. But, and Lee does the old hey to get the crowd going for starters. Punctuated by the band doing a sort of stop and start thing. But the main part of it is that, and Andrew, you mentioned it at the beginning, and I'm mentioning it here, is that this is, they really latch onto the melody of this. It's got a great melody, the A and the D bit, and very swinging as well. Very kind of, they know how to swing, and it's not just that kind of fast, aggressive, choppy thing. But there's a lot of swing in this record. Clearly, you're able to sort of get up and again dance to it as a kind of thing, and they absolutely keep the melody and keep the song intact.
And I'll tell you why. I'm glad you mentioned that, and I'll tell you why, but I won't tell you now.
Okay, which is great, and a great solo as well, and that kind of combination of a choppy rhythmic thing and single note stuff that Wilco's perfected as a thing. It's so I gave this a 9 out of 10. Never a skip. It's one of my favourites. Really good. Andrew, who's now going to tell us?
No. I'm going to save it because I've got the notes on the next song, so I'll mention it on the next song. If that's okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so we're doing Stupidity.
We are.
Good. Love any song with a title like that in the track.
That's just.
I just want to point out to John ZD351. Yes, there's a lot of Dr. Feelgood albums on Spotify, but this one wasn't on the New Zealand app. So.
Oh right.
Yeah. So we had to compile a list from the videos on YouTube. So if it's on the Australian one or the English one, it's not here.
Stupidity Plus on my Spotify. It's got there's some extra tracks at the bottom, but the first 13 songs were released are that's the album basically when it was released.
We're doing Stupidity. What else is new? Okay, John. Brad, what I liked about this is you said it about the drummer. What a great name for a drummer, eh? Big fella.
Yeah, the big figure.
Your big figure. Yes.
I've got a note here. I love the crashing drums and obviously the chop guitar going on here. But what's really nice about this is the contrasting vocals by Lee Brillo. And again, the rock professors mentioned that the harmonies behind the vocals on this track is really, really fantastic. And the melody, I've also made a point about that too. So, these guys, besides being driving, which is really, really important when you're drinking pints of lager and pints of bitter, but you got to be able to sort of continue that note and keep it interesting. These guys do that, and I've given this an 8 out of 10, Brad. Never a skip.
Wow. We're we're all pretty on the money with each other's rankings. I've put this one here, Stupidity. Well, Dr. Feelgood, they've infused their own energy into this song. The Solomon Burke song. I put Wilco's soulful and expressive guitar playing and a great guitar solo. I think his style is quite unique. We mentioned before that stabby and choppy sort of thing he does, but I love his little solo in this song. It's great. Lee's gritty vocals. He's got a bit of grit in the vocal on this song, I've noticed. And the rhythm section, I keep saying it, they keep adding that depth and bottom end to the performance. And it's a very cool little ending. I like the way they end the song. I gave it 8.5 out of 10 and never skipped.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Simon.
The next track is All Through the City, which I think is another feel-good original. Again, starts off with that choppy rhythmic guitar and pretty straightforward 4/4 drumming, but the driving bass, really pushing it forward, keeping up with the guitar, and Lee's typical growling, brooding vocals. But again, it swings and stuff, and it's and it's got a sharp, rhythmic solo in it as well. It's does what it says on the tin. 8 out of 10 from me. Never a skip. And nearly 3 minutes. We're winding ourselves up.
Yeah, I agree with you, Simon. I think it's one of the reasons why I liked Lee Brillo when I first came across him and sort of paid serious attention to him, Brad, was I loved the masculine aura that the guy had, and it comes out in his vocals, doesn't it? Yeah. And he looks so cool. Go and check out the videos. As the Rock Professor said in the intro, folks, they look like gangsters. They're wearing, while everyone else is wearing tight, ripped, T-shirts or sort of like woman's clothes like the Rolling Stones. And I don't mean that in a derogatory sense, because they purposely wore, a lot of, stuff, not undies, I don't think, but certainly, tops and all that. Dr. Feelgood come out and, no doubt about it. They're sort of, they're dressing like dudes, and I like that. The Rock Professor's hit the nail on the head. You got that classic Wilco riff. But this is when I realised something, Simon and Brad, after listening to it for the second or third time. And it goes back to the element that you said about swing. They clearly follow Wilco. It's like the Rolling Stones. For them to be successful and do that, so when they're walking up and down on the stage, you have a look at the videos. They're in time. Nothing like that happens by accident, Brad. That is all part of, very clever, all part of making sure, because they probably didn't have a very good PA system back then, because they were playing in a lot of those workingmen clubs and small clubs, Brad and Simon. So very clever. And I think that's why they get their swing, because the guitar player, Wilco, sets it. And because of that, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10.
Nice.
We're all very close on this. I keep saying it, but all very close. All Through the City. I put here fantastic Dr. Feelgood original song. Showcases the band's bluesy sort of rock influence, the blues influenced rock sound. Wilco's guitar playing on this song. I mean, by this stage, you're really quite familiar with how he plays live and how he's, adapting his style to the songs, combined with Lee's gritty vocal again. It's a really powerful live performance, this one, a live experience, you could put it that way. I put great little guitar solo, and I love the bass line behind the solo as well. If you listen to the bass playing that's in there, it's fantastic. I gave that 10 out of 10, never skip.
It's really important, that, isn't it, when you're a three-piece, basically three instruments, what the bass player does to back up the guitar player and stuff.
it's the bass playing is like achievable for any bass playing, but he's locked in with the drums very. It's not like he's doing something that's too out there, but it's pretty cool what he's doing as well. You know what I mean? But it fits perfectly with the drumming, so it's perfect, and it fattens it, like you said, Simon. Gives that bottom end. I keep saying it. It gives that sort of just bed of music for the guitar player to play across. So. So
they're playing a drinking game in the chat. You realise that every time you say bottom, they have to drink.
I'm gonna start checking this chat now. Yep.
Yeah.
You better get stuck into it.
Yes, but yeah, I mean, it's that thing, that really important thing of that that we talk about a lot on here. 3-piece bands, Zeppelin and stuff. That. The tightness between the three instruments, locking in and stuff is really the important thing that you do, and because this is, rhythm and blues, plenty of rhythm on the emphasis on the rhythm. That's really important, because it gets people to dance as much as anything else. And clearly that's, what's going on here. So the next track is I'm a Man, the classic Bo Diddley song, I'm a Man. It's kind of, this is quite long for the Feelgood, 5 minutes of brooding atmospheric, and I think, as Andrew said, because they're very, Lee Brillo's very masculine, kind of, that suits this song fantastically. I'm a man. He sure is the answer to that, isn't it? As a thing, They get the right speed. They're not going too fast at it. They've got the right speed, and as you say, Andrew, it gets set by Wilko Johnson. He sets the pace for it, and you've got your bass drum, and you've got the harp and the guitar playing together, which respond to the vocals as a thing. They're really locked in. You can tell they've worked at that, and you've got great solo with double stops into a single note. A classic. Wilco stretching out a bit and, getting out those rock and roll chops and laying into it in any way you can. And then that goes into a harp solo as well. So you've got a harp solo and the solo at the end. I really enjoy this. A great brooding, atmospheric version of this. And I think, holds up against anyone's. I gave this 9 out of 10, never a skip. And again, a change of pace and a change of atmosphere and a change of thing to keep the interest and there's a bit subtle in the Feelgoods, but clearly that's part of it. Is stopping, slowing down, stretching out and stuff. Andrew.
Yeah, this is where again the band prove again their ability to be who they want to be. As a blues-based band, I'm a Man's a classic blues song, and most of us here know this song and probably know 10 different versions of it. And if we've played in blues bands, we've probably played this song. I have. I'm sure Brad has, and the Rock Professor probably has as well. It's one of those classic songs that you have to learn and. I love a lot of the versions, all the versions that I've heard of this song because it's a classic blues song. And I kind of like that. And I love the fact that this band in 74, 75, 76 continuing that great English tradition of taking this American song, Brad, and doing something with it and just making this into a Dr. Feelgood song. So Lee Brillo isn't gruffing his vocals on this, and he could have easily have done that. He could have easily made himself sound like Howlin' Wolf Simon on this, or Bub. But he's decided, no, I'm not going to, because that's a little bit more in tune with some of the originals that he's heard. So I'm gonna sing it just back it back a little bit. And have that brooding element that the Rock Professor has mentioned wonderfully well, as opposed to that aggressive, like I'm a man, kind of, muddy, and Lee Brillo is just fantastic for that. One of the greatest frontmen of that era, I'm sure, and gets probably buried a little bit. And we can talk about why we think that might be the case at the end and the conclusion. I've given this a Brad score. I love their interpretation of this song, Brad. I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah, wonderful.
It's very different to the Rolling Stones version, isn't it? If the Rolling Stones from
100%.
'77, the Elmer Cambo version is a
100%.
quite a different thing to it, isn't it? Yeah, interesting.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I'm
Brad.
glad. No, you're fine. I'm a man. I mean, I'm glad you brought up the singing style, Andrew. It's he's definitely not muddy water scaring the chicks into saying, you know, I'm a man, you know, like. But this, I mean, this is a great rendition of the song. It's a classic song, as you mentioned, Andrew, and you know, Wilco's rhythm guitar playing on this is fantastic. His lead chops are great. Lee's vocals that they're commanding. He's getting a little bit of authority there in his own style. I love that. There's a solid backbone rhythm section. The crowd interaction is fantastic with them. I don't know if you notice there's a bit of that.
Good point.
Without sort of doubling up on everything what you guys have said, there's some great soloing in it, guitar solo, harmonica. And it's a really good rendition. I'm a big fan of the song anyway. So when anyone plays it, I love hearing this song played because I think there's a lot of masculinity to this song in particular, and you know, there's nothing wrong with the world having masculine men. I'm just going to put that out there, and for that reason alone, 10 out of 10 and never a skip, guys.
3.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yes,
That's good. Well, fantastic. That's
Simon.
So the next track is, I mean, clearly another R&B classic. I would say 2 in a row.
Yep.
do them in pairs is a thing, isn't it? So this is "Walking the Dog" by Rufus Thomas. You know, and as I've said, another, you know, absolute classic R&B song. And they start off with the famous riff, you know, and they go round, you know, and they start, and again they bring that great swing to it, you know, great swing that the rhythm section really make it swing, so that it sounds great, and it's got a great rhythm and lead combined guitar work in it as well, and those Lee's growling vocals that you know, make it just him, don't they? There couldn't be anybody else but him. This is a great version. I really like it. It swings. It's got all the chops. 9 out of 10 from me, and never a skip. It's great. Andrew.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the chat. Yeah, the Rock Professor picked this, folks, and we're enjoying it. It's a great album and a great band, and we hope that if anybody's watching on replay, they'll offer some opinions on this and go and check out some other stuff that this band has done. Walking the Dog, again, I have to echo what the Rock Professor said. You know, it's a phenomenal song, covered again, Brad, by everybody else, including the Stones. How many versions of the Stones done? Wasn't this on their first album, Simon?
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like, just picture this, guys. You're 17 years old, you've snuck in, you've had 2 bevies, and you've snuck into a gig, you've picked up a guitar, you've got half a dozen records at home, and you want to get into record playing, Brad. So you're going to go along to this gig, and you're going to watch these guys, and these guys are going to sing some of their songs, and they're going to present to you some of these classics, and you're going to write them down, or you're going to remember them, and you're going to go and ask somebody, what's I'm a Man and Walking the Dog, what, you know, and someone's going to go and tell you, oh, go and check out the Rolling Stones, or go and check out Muddy Waters. I'm sure that's what was going on back in the day, Simon. You know, with
for sure, yeah.
You know, with and I got to say, girls too, because you know, it's not only guys that play guitars, young people, and I love the fact that they were doing this. Brad, I don't know if you caught up on this, but we spoke about the bass and the drums being very, very pronounced on the beat. The bass player especially is playing just the standard chords and the progression. One thing I noticed on this is that the bass is playing passing notes. And again, so a reason why he's playing passing notes is because I'm walking the dog, So, the rhythm's changed a little bit. So he's got to play. So he can't play just those basic notes, the chords. You got to play dung dung, So passing notes are like 2 or 3 notes before you hit the next chord, folks. That's basically what a passing, or one chord. Some people call them ghost chords or ghost notes. A bass player will call them passing chords. Fantastic, clever musicians, and they're doing this live. Again, we've got growling, gruff Lee. Love it. And what did Brad say? We need some more.
More growling.
More growling.
Oh.
Yes.
Can I just take us on a little trip somewhere?
Take us on a trip.
Okay.
Upon your magic swirling ship.
Okay. So years and years ago, I was watching this video of Kenny Wayne Shepherd, and he's talking about how, when he got into music and stuff like that, and he wanted to be a singer. And if you go and hear him singing, he's not a very good singer, folks. He'll admit that. He's a bit whiny, he's a little bit up there. But he, great vocals, great backing vocals. He'll admit that himself. There's plenty of videos, so I'm not being mean. But he said that, Brad, he always said that, I wanted to sound like Howling Wolf, when he wanted to be a singer. And then you go and listen to his, like buzzy little vocals. It's just, anyway, that's not a criticism about Kenny Wayne Shepherd, because we love him. But the fact is, he made up for any vocal defects with guitar playing. Did I rank this?
No.
Oh, yeah.
10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Brad.
Oh, jeez. All right. Well, did I rank it? Were you being serious? You just gave an explanation of walking the dog. No one else needs to do one. You've already done it. You've covered every aspect. So I think this track highlights the band's ability to groove. I've put Wilco's bluesy guitar playing, great rhythm guitar playing, and lead guitar playing. I've put very Lee's animated vocals. I've put that very animated. I'm glad that you brought that whole moving bass line on passing, the passing notes between the chords and stuff like that, because I think that leads to the groove and the ability for the band to groove. So the bass playing is very responsible for that, while the rhythm section is keeping it tight. That bass player in the rhythm section, he's really moving it around. The audience, in my opinion, I could picture them as a result of that bass playing, that they're swinging, they're moving in the audience. They're into this. They're not standing around with their arms crossed. In other words, I gave this a 9 out of 10, guys, and never a skip. Simon.
Yeah. So with the last track on side one is She Does It Right, which is one of the quintessential feel-good songs. I think
Yes.
it's absolutely, if you're going to play somebody one song, there's 2 or 3 other ones on here, because that's why I chose this record. So it has got their most well-known songs on it. But She Does It Right is one of their most well-known songs. It's got that kind of combination guitar riff with the bass and drums as well. Wilco absolutely doing it. It's got lots of punk energy, combination of rhythm and lead, driving it along, and plenty of energetic vocals from Lee as well. You can just imagine, you can just see Wilco stalking the stage, kind of machine gun in the audience for this. As one of their originals. Has a kind of drop down just at about 2.5 minutes. They do a drop down, kind of bit of dynamic change, and then they come storming back into to the finish. As I say, quintessential feel good. 10 out of 10 from me. Never a skip. Fantastic track. Andrew.
Yeah, I agree with you, Simon. It was the track that I heard, Brad, back in the day. It was Well, when I heard this track, I didn't know who the band was. You know, it was one of those songs. You know, I don't know where or how. I for the life of me, I tried to work out how and when, but I said to you before that I always thought that Dr. Feelgood were Americans. So at the time, when I still made that connection of, oh, okay, this is Dr. Feelgood, I still thought they were Americans because Lee Brillo doesn't sound like an Englishman, you know, to my ears again. So always one of the great thrills, isn't it, about listening to music and sort of finding out, oh my God, you know, we thought Elvis Presley was a black man and he was white, you know, wow, you know, it's one of those kind of moments. I have to agree with the Rock Professor. We played that video snip, didn't we, folks, of the band interacting. For me, the key was always Lee Brillo on this, and then obviously Wilco, because you know when you think about it, Brad, Wilco doesn't look like a guitar player, bro. You know what I mean? He's got these big eyes. You know, he's wearing bell bottoms and 19, you know, and he's got a Telecaster. You know, and he's going up and down, up and down. It's like, what is the? Can we take this guy seriously? This is what I originally thought, and then realised actually people were taking this cat seriously. And then you go and listen and find, okay, this guy's breaking the mold. He's doing it his way, and because of that, you know, I love it. Lee Brillo is the key for me on this. I love this track. It's a Brad score.
Yay! Because it's quintessential.
Look, it's she does it right. It's a signature Dr. Feelgood song. I was going to say it's a signature Feelgood song, but I thought I'd better throw the Doctor in there, the Dr. Feelgood. She does it right. I mean, for me, I put Wilco's iconic sort of Telecaster sound with his rhythm and lead playing is a standout on this track. Lee Brillo's dynamic sort of vocal and stage. You can imagine his stage presence during this performance because, you know, I have to remind myself this is a live record.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a studio record. So there's a lot of, I'm sure the presence of his ability on stage was part of his vocal delivery is what I'm getting at. So what he was doing on stage and that with the way he presents himself on stage, very forward and very in your face, his vocals demonstrates that as well. The rhythm section, maintaining that tight, infectious sort of groove through the song, bottom end, and have another drink, everyone. I had to rank this 10 out of 10, guys, never a skip. Simon.
Yes, indeed.
That's end of side one, isn't it?
End of side one, yes. So we can do some photos. Dr.
Cool.
Walton, if you're...
Turn it up, Mark.
Turn it up, yes.
Turn it up. All right, okay, folks. So in no particular order, we have to acknowledge these guys for bringing us the photos this week. It's been a while since we've seen these handsome fellows on the channel, so we need an updated photo, Brad, for clickbait, please.
Yes, yeah, all right. We'll see if we can organise, though.
Does Elvis know he's been used like this? You know, frankly,
I'm sure he doesn't. So I was going to say in that photo, the person on the right is going to keep getting more handsome and handsome as the years goes on. The bloke on the left, not so much. So I like older photos.
We all like older photos like that, don't we? Yes, we do.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right, folks. So this is in no particular order. So this is the first album that they did, Down by the Jetty. It was the album that I heard when I was sort of pushed into a direction, Simon, as I said earlier, to go and sort of listen to and study. Again, I love that bleakness, you know, that black and white look. It's always going to be an interesting album cover. That contrast, black and white, love it.
Recorded in mono, of course. as in monochrome. But yeah, look at that.
It's your heart out, Eddie Van Halen, David Lee Roth. And look at those heels he's got on, Simon. He's got 2-inch heels.
Cuban heels, yes. All the rage.
There's Lee Brillo there. That's the photo of the album cover, Simon, which is
there. Yep, there we are.
And there's Lee
on his knees.
doing what he does. Wilco. The gangster look, Simon, that you nailed at the beginning of your intro.
Yeah, very much that kind of. If you look, that's Wilco clanning with the thumb over on the E string and doing that shape on the neck to kind of get to get the rhythm and the lead. There we are. That's what you play it on, kids. Plug straight into an amp. There's no effects on this at all. Straight into an amp.
And that's not Wilco's guitar. That's the guitar of the guy that's playing in the Dr. Feelgood tribute. But that's a very good photo. That's a reproduction of Wilco's. So I've got I thought I had a photo here of Wilco's guitar. I'm sorry. I did. Oh, there we are. There.
Well,
there it is.
It's the same guitar, isn't it? It's a.
Yeah. So very much a Telecaster guy. Used right throughout his career. No pedals, as the rock professor said.
Yeah.
And the last pick, there they are there, early on.
The Canvey Island Gangsters.
All right, side 2, rock professor.
Yes, fantastic. Yeah, cool photographs, and you get an idea about what they're like. So, side 2 is starts off with "Going Back Home," which is co-written with Mick Green from Johnny Kidd and the Pirates. Apparently, Wilco got friendly with Mick Green and he used to go around to his house and kind of thing. And he was saying to Mick Green, "Show me how you do this thing again." So Mick Green was just started playing this kind of riff, and oh look, it's the channel. Look, we've got our own channel dog, Pepper.
Our own channel mascot.
Yeah, channel mascot. Hello.
Very
cool.
cute.
Look at
Thank
that.
you, bro. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Cutie.
Simon. Thank you. She loves it.
See, owners and their dogs look very alike, don't they?
Oh.
See, and there's proof of it. Could hardly tell the difference between you. So Wilco saw Mick Green playing this riff kind of thing and said, "Oh, what's that?" So he appropriated it and made a song out of it called "Going Back Home," which is has that classic, fingers guitar thing at the front, and the bass and the machine gun drums. That sort of cool, great vocals, and a harp interjection between the verses. So Lee's back on the harp. Great rhythm and lead combinations, again from Wilco, very much in that classic vein. Got a harp solo, and pretty much it's harp solo all the way in this track as a thing. And I think it was their first single as well. No, not the first single, but I think it was a single too. But and a big ending, great, sort of, really back in that energetic mode, kind of going along. So 10 out of 10 from me. Never a skip. Great opening track for side 2. Andrew.
Yeah, thank you, folks, for the kind words and comments about the dog. big part of my life.
Yeah.
And thank you for the nice words and connection that the Rock Professor made about owners and their dogs. I have fucking no idea what he's talking about, but we'll take him at his word because the last time we contradicted the Rock Professor, we got into trouble, didn't we, Simon? And Brad, didn't we?
Yes, yes, yes.
Right, okay. What I like about this track, guys, and I'll be interested to hear what Brad has to say in particular because he's going after me, is that there's a nice snare snap going on this track. And I mentioned earlier when Lee was playing harmonica that he was playing more of a Paul Butterfield blues harp style where he was playing clear notes. So what's really interesting about this track here is that Lee's playing Chicago style. There's no nice clean note blow, Brad and Simon. He's very happy to make, so whether or not, that's a technique that he's using or he's got the mic closer up to the harp, I don't know, but it's definitely a contrast in harp styles. And again, I like that because it's not an easy thing to do when you're playing live. Got to remember that, and Brad mentioned that before. This is a live album, folks, and you can probably get lost and think if it wasn't for the chairs that you mentioned, you'd be thinking, shit, this could be a studio album. Tight band. I've given this 9 out of 10. Never a skip, Brad.
Yeah. I put here, it's a highlight track. I put this track highlights that chemistry of the band. Everything you guys have already mentioned, the Lee's vocals on this, the harp solo. I put here the harp solo sounds more traditional blues here. So that sort of falls in with what you were saying, Andrew. I mentioned that the rhythm section are overall intense on this song. I put here the drums sound big and snappy, so that falls in with what you've mentioned with the snare. So, Andrew, you mentioned that, didn't you, about the snare sound? So that falls in with that, and Wilco's guitar playing is fantastic on this record, on this song in particular. I gave the song a 9 out of 10 and never skip, gentlemen.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Simon.
Yeah. So the next track is I Don't Mind, which starts off with that kind of, it's almost a Bo Diddley beat, isn't it? Shaving a haircut 2 bits. No, not quite, but it is pretty much there. And it's just a little short, sharp, punchy little song. Nice little guitar solo from Wilco. Typical Wilco combination of rhythm and lead playing and a bit of guitar things. But nothing hugely outstanding, but goes along nicely. I gave it 7.5 out of 10, and I wouldn't skip it.
Yeah. Interesting, because I've just got a cool guitar riff. I love the guitar riff on this.
Yeah.
But what I liked about this though is you've got the floor toms dominating the drums on this. So again, you've got the rhythm section offering a little bit of a contrast as opposed to playing the snare, which we heard feature on the previous track. On this one here, we've got the floor toms, Brad, going. So I've ranked this 8 out of 10. Just a good song. Nothing much going on here.
Yeah. I don't mind. I've put Dr. Feelgood's, it's an original composition, as you mentioned, Simon. It allows Wilco's guitar to shine on this track. I've put that. There's a sharp and expressive sort of vocal there from Lee, very engaging, and the rhythm section is just on the money. I gave it 8, and who gave it 8? 8 out of 10. Andrew, you gave it 8?
Andrew
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
I also gave it 8 out of 10 as well, and never a skip. That's a great little short song, I thought.
Yeah. I don't know whether this is whether it's happenstance. Probably they thought about it, but it sandwiches Going Back Home and the next track, which is Back in the Night, which is another feel good classic. certainly a single back in the night. I remember it being a bit slower, and it's got some slide guitar on it. For one thing, Wilco's playing some slide on it, which is unusual. It's the only song with slide on it, but it's a bit slower as well. It's got that kind of slow down. They know when to pace it differently, but it is one of the feel good classics. Some nice. There's something quite primal about the beats and the chanted vocals that comes through. Nice slide guitar solo from Wilco at 2:35. 10 out of 10 from me. Never a skip. One of their classics, and I think it's quite good that they sandwiched I Don't Mind between Going Back Home and Back in the Night. It's sandwich it between two very strong songs indeed. So, Andrew.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the song, folks. So I don't know the pedigree on the song as far as the band's concerned. Obviously, as the rock professor said, it's got some slide guitar, and what's really interesting about the slide guitar that's played on this is that it's very much in the English blues tradition. You guys aren't surprised about this. We're great Fleetwood Mac fans on this channel, and Jeremy Spencer's slide playing with Fleetwood Mac has influenced a lot of players over the years, and especially early on, where he's not playing Dwayne Allman style. Brad, he's not playing beautiful single notes. He's not making the guitar try and replicate a voice.
No.
What he's trying to do, what Spencer's trying to do, is he's just playing in that Chicago style of playing 3 or 4 notes and offering a contrast as opposed to playing a normal rhythm style, which isn't bad. It's just a different style. And I like the fact that Wilco is obviously very able to do that, Simon. It's
Absolutely, yeah.
Some people say that playing slide guitar is relatively easy. It might be. It might be because you're only playing, a slide up and down the guitar. But like a lot of things, Brad, it's about timing. If you get the timing wrong, it's going to fall to pieces. And with Wilco, we know that it can't fall to pieces because he's leading the band. So he's, clearly knows a little bit about timing. I've given this a 9 out of 10, Simon. Never a skip. Love the slide guitar.
Yeah, it's cool, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, so interestingly, I put here, it's a gritty, a bluesy track. I put showcases Wilco's powerful guitar playing and tasty slide. Lee's vocals are storytelling like, so it's, in a sense, he's putting himself into the vocals. He's still telling the story within the vocals, how I like to put it. The rhythm section, that's obviously they're solid. They're solid as a rock in this. And this one, it kind of gives for me a good. This would be one you could say is the band's distinctive sound is this song. Do you know what I mean? It gives it that to me gives it that. If you were to say to people, Dr. Feelgood, you could play them this song and it sort of captures the full sound and spectrum of the band, putting the blues in there, the rock, the punk is sort of everything about this band is in this song, in my opinion. I gave it 8.5 out of 10. Never a skip.
Yeah, I think that's right,
Hey,
Brad. It is everything about that band. Yeah. Morning, Gretch. So the next track is "I'm a Hog for Your Baby," which is originally done by the Coasters. It's a Lieber and Stoller song, originally done by the Coasters. Coasters really is much more of a sort of much like a bit more of a novelty, almost a novelty thing, I think, as a kind of as a song. But with In the Hands of the Feelgood, it becomes a sort of brooding classic of when Librillo sings "I'm a hog for you, baby." He's not we know what he's talking about. I think you know what I'm talking about. It's he brings that kind of brooding, licentious vocal style to it and turns it into something quite different, I think, than the original thing. But nevertheless, it's a great version of it. That the band are really tight. They I think the important thing is they keep the melody, they keep the 'cause I'm a hog for you, babe. It's like, you definitely keep the tune, which is a good idea. It's got a great kind of one chord note solo, hasn't it? It's just Wilco just playing one thing for a while, which is and again, it's just they vocals sing with just the bass and the drums, and then the guitar comes in for the chorus and things. And a classic blues rundown at the end. What could be better? 9 out of 10 from me. Never a skip. Great fun. It's fun, this track. Andrew.
Yeah, I'm just going to follow on quickly with what the Rock Professor said. One of the great things about this track is Wilco's ability to offer a contrast. We've had him play slide. He's got his unique style on a lot of these tracks, driving it forward, that percussive element that he has. And then on this one here, he's got a different melody. He's got a melody and a different technique going on this. It's almost like he's using a pick, Brad, or certainly a nail or something. So again, if you're in the front row and you're watching this, and you're a guitar player, you're probably getting blown away by all these different techniques if you haven't had too many bevies. I've given this an 8 out of 10.
Oh, okay. That's a good score. I'm a hog for you, baby. I put this cover as likely, it's able to give Wilco that sort of guitar lead in a sense where he's taking more of a traditional blues feel with his style on this song. Lee's bluesy, brooding vocals I've put here, and the rhythm section delivering that authentic and energetic blues sort of feel to the song. It's a great live performance. I keep sort of reminding myself when I'm listening to it, it is actually a live performance. It's not studio. There's a lot of energy in the performance. I'm sort of leaning towards more 9 out of 10 and never skip, guys. Simon.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. So the penultimate song is "Checking Up on My Baby," which is a Sonny Boy Williamson song, which is a bit more classic kind of blues than R&B. I think the Coasters is more R&B, rhythm and blues rather than. But they go definitely for the authentic blues thing here. And again, Lee's back on harp playing with this, and there's definitely vocals and harp call and response stuff going on here. Lee, call and response with himself, a harp solo as well, and you've got a drop down, and you've got vocals and guitar interplay in it as well. You actually kind of, they take it down and then they bring it back up again. Classic piece of dynamic band interplay from bands of this era. When it didn't have millions of effects, the dynamics was and that harp solo and guitar figure interplay at the end. I gave this an 8 out of 10 and never a skip. I think it's a great foray into classic blues territory. Andrew.
Yeah, once again, Simon, I agree with you. The continuity that this band has, and especially Lee with his harp playing through the course of this album, is just a remarkable thing. And again, just hold on for 1 second, folks. Hold on. Somewhere around here. Somewhere, if you don't have a harmonica or a harp in your guitar case, go and put one in there, because you got to have one, because you got to learn to blow something sooner or later. We've all tried to learn to blow something, and I like.
I'm not going anywhere near this topic. I'm going to leave this one for you guys.
I like the fact that we're getting a wonderful example. I like the fact that we're getting a wonderful example of a great harmonica harp example. That's it. We've all got one. From Lee Brillo, the different styles and techniques that the guy has, and it's clearly on display, is remarkable, Simon. I think it's fantastic, and it's not an easy instrument to try and learn.
No.
You know, it's again, it's got its own subtleties, doesn't it, Brad? I don't know if you've tried. You know, it's
It's hard. I find
yeah,
it.
yeah. You know, yeah, it's much easier to play guitar. I think, but
Yeah.
I love hearing a great harp player, and you know, Simon, you know, Lee's certainly in that category, isn't he? You know, and then he backs
knows
it
what
up
to do.
with these gruff, sort of, you know, muscular vocals. It's it's wonderful to hear. Wonderful treat. I've given this 8.5 out of 10, and it's never a skip, Brad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, it's
Yeah.
talking about blowing things, Andrew. Yeah. I've put here Lee blows the harmonica really well in this song. I'm just pulling it back on the rails, guys. Okay, it's back on the. We're getting the show back on track. I'm just pulling the piss, Andrew. I'm sorry, mate. It's a bluesy, soulful rendition of this track. Wilco's guitar, you know, I think he's capturing some of the essence of like the original version by Sonny Boy Williams. Is it the original one? I think.
Yeah.
Capturing that, but
Definitely.
still putting a lot of his own little, you know, flavor in there. I put great vocal and harmonica, you know, from Lee. He's got his own flavor of playing the harp. I've put that there. I've put very cool vocal and guitar call and response, you know, like that very bluesy stuff in the dynamic thing that Simon you were talking about. And look, I gave it an 8 out of 10 and never skip, guys. I think it's a great version of the song.
Yeah. If I listened to the original, and it's definitely not that far away from it, and
Yeah,
certainly brings that.
they still bring their own sort of flavor to the
Yeah,
original. Like,
definitely.
when they're covering a song, I like that though. I like an artist giving a little bit of their own, you know, flavor to it. It's good.
Yes, indeed.
Yep.
So the last track on side 2 is Roxette, which was their debut single, basically from Down by the Jessie, first single, and has you know, unrelenting rhythm section, you know, them laying it down and interlocking with Wilco Johnson's circling guitar riff, fantastic, with Lee growling and howling on vocals and harmonica. You know, you've got Lee counting it in, and then Wilco off in the classic chord single note combo that he does. You've got you know, your harp blasting out menacingly, and you know, doing what Lee does with the harp. You've got a drop out, just the bass and drums, just like the intro, and then the harp back in, and building up to a big ending, which is clearly the last track on the album. There are some other tracks on the plus bit, but again, 10 out of 10 for me. Never a skip. Was one of their finest, and you know, one a classic feel good track from me. Andrew.
Yeah, I just want to do before I just jump into my rankings, I just want to say thanks to the folks watching. We've got 20 people watching us, and we've got a really chat. What is it? Active chat, Brad.
Active chat
going tonight.
Yeah. Yes.
And what does John ZD351 call the chat?
The chat is where it's at.
Chat, there it is.
Yeah, thank you, folks. It's again, you know, we don't thank you guys enough for the support that you give us, and the fact that you guys are here with us weekly, supporting us. Great having Mark here too. You know, please go and check out Mark's channel as well, folks. While Brad is giving his rankings, I'll go and find Mark's link, and I'll put it in here for you guys to go and subscribe to him. Thank you. When I was going through this the other day, one of my work colleagues said, you know, what's the album that you're doing? And I showed him the album, had a bit of a chat about it. So there are two things that he brought up, and we mentioned it earlier. about Dr. Feelgood. You know, Motley Crue, Motley Crue, Motley Crue. I said, no,
Not that one.
no, better than that band. Okay, and he goes, oh yeah, and then having a look there, Roxette. I said, no, not that band. Better than that band too.
It's a combination of Motley Crue and Roxette. Yes.
No, not that band. Yeah. So one of the things that we like to do here, Brad and Simon, is we like to at least offer true connections and perspectives with a little bit of bullshit. Look, I love this track. I didn't know that, Simon. Again, I'm not an expert on this band, and I'm not going to pretend to be. I didn't know that this was a popular single. On reflection now, I should have known because it was the last track on the album. But we know that that's not necessarily the case all the time, isn't it? Because maybe it's not done in sequence. But there again, when they produce a record, you would think that most of the most popular songs would be towards the end. Generally speaking, Brad, that's normally what happens. But again, with these English guys in the mid-70s, they were doing all weird shit, weren't they? So, and our rankings have proved that over the years, haven't they? With some of the track listings. So, we can't take that for granted. Look, I think they've just summed up everything that's on this album with this song, Chop Chords by Wilco, and that rhythm section on this flourishes, comes to the fore in its own element. And you can see, again, there's elements of that swing there, Simon, that you mentioned, which is so important. And again, I just want to make a point. Go back and have a look at the video. Go and look at the videos of this band playing live and see what they're doing. They're playing in front of people, and the rock professors told you this. They're dancing. They're not just standing there, like people generally do now and go there and watch. It's all about dancing. It's all about getting the swing going. I've given this a 9 out of 10, Brad. Never a skip.
I think this song, Roxette, closes the album wonderfully. I think it. I'm not sure if they ended on this, Simon, and when they played live like this was the closing track. But I think it was. I'm not sure, but either way, I think it's a wonderful way to end the album. It's a memorable, energetic sort of finale to the live recording I've put here. It's got that signature sound in full force. Wilco's dynamic guitar playing, Lee's powerful vocals in the rhythm section. It's memorable. I didn't know, Simon, that this was a big hit for them, like their first single. Sorry, I'm going to say that honestly, but I think it's a wonderful song and a fantastic live performance of it. Because obviously I've heard the recorded version, and I think they've done a wonderful live recording here on this whole entire album of their songs. And bass, drums, guitar, vocals, like a 4-piece, and with some harmonica playing. It's pretty amazing sound they've got. A very unique sound, capitulating blues, punk, rock. I think it's all there. This is a really great closing for the album. I gave it 10 out of 10. Never a skip.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think so. Yeah. I'd go with that as a thing. It's one of their classic songs. It was released with a version of Route 66 on the other side in September 76. But and they released it as a single off this album as well. So it's one of the singles off this album as well, the live version. So it's played a lot. Well, it was necessarily a huge hit, but it was it's like a trailer for the album, and the album was a #1, so it got played a lot on the radio and stuff. And it was, in those days when this sort of stuff got played on the radio, when radio was big, so clearly helped to contribute for Stupidity being a hit. So great. Well, there we are. That's Stupidity for you. Thank you very much for indulging me with that, guys. It's been fantastic fun to go back and listen to it again, and been really enjoying grooving around in the car with it. And you know, it's you know, I'd vote for it in terms of it's got a lot of songs on it, but they're not very long. So you know, it's not really long. It's a, you know, classic single album length, you know, 35 minutes or so, 38 minutes.
I must admit, Simon, I was overwhelmed with the amount of songs, thinking a
Yeah.
live performance is going to be like, if you had that many songs on a Zeppelin live performance, you'd have too much to talk
3
about.
weeks. Yeah. No, it's but no, don't worry. I'd realised that although there are a lot of songs, there's, you know, it's the form. There's a formula and a format that they do, and you know, you follow you know, and there's subtle changes, but there's nothing. It's not like doing a Led Zeppelin. To be honest, there's so much going on and things. It's you know, it's a back to basics album and shows them at their, you know, basic brilliant best, really, you know, in terms of energy, in terms of what they were like live, and as I say, as a sort of portent of punk and of, you know, that stuff that was you know, going to happen in England the next year. You know, that's why it's an important record for the UK, and I accept that it isn't necessarily an important record for other, you know, although, you know, weird bands like Blondie and stuff took stuff from Dr. Feelgood, you know, which is you wouldn't necessarily expect, but apparently Jerry Harrison used to pace up and down like Wilco Johnson, you know, and they had it, and you know, was seen out with it, and noted it as being an influence to, you know, to them as well. So, you know, I think it had a big influence, certainly in the UK. As I say, not so much in America, because it's a different thing. And I think, as I've discussed on here before, there's that divergence between the UK and America for, you know, things that were big in the UK going forward from here weren't big in, you know, weren't necessarily big in America. America went down a different kind of, you know, route.
Yeah.
Kind of, you know, that kind of Van Halen, Motley Crue, that kind of, you know, big kind of wide rock sound that wasn't really a big thing here. You know, we were busy mucking about with something else. Jonas, yes, that's a good call, Jonas. It's definitely Oil City Confidential for Julian Temple film, which is fantastic. Contains lots of film and
yeah, it's fantastic.
Well,
Mandatory to watch all his films.
Yeah. And Wilco Johnson is one of the great British eccentrics as well. He's quite always amusing and always telling. But
awesome.
I mean, this was, and I just say it in sort of conclusion. This was their, this was basically their kind of, you know, that this was their, the apex of their career, really. They did another album after this, and then they were touring in America, but you know, I think everybody else in the band was a boozer, basically drank, and Wilco Johnson was a speed merchant. And I think there was clash of different things going on that and Wilco left, and I think that probably stopped them in their tracks, really, from, you know, what they could have done as a 4-piece. And they went on. They had a hit called Milk and Alcohol later with a guy called Jippy Mayo who played guitar on it, and they've had other guitarists since. But you know, I think that was, you know, typical band. They kind of exploded the internal tensions before they made it really big. But as I say, nevertheless, in the UK, very influential, you know, across a lot of bands and stuff like that. And so I thought it worthy of inclusion as a sort of, you know, British R&B, British rhythm and blues thing album for us to look at. So thank you for indulging me, guys.
Awesome.
So
we'll be back here next week, folks, with an album that came out a couple of years ago from Gary Moore, a blues album, one of his blues albums. So we look forward to doing that with you. Go and check it out. It's on Spotify. It's on Apple Music and YouTube Music. Brad, have you got the screen up, bro?
I have. I wanted to bring it up. Obviously, we're going to say thank you to, you know, the chat, because the chat's where it's happening. The chat's where it's at. As John ZD3. So John ZD351, good to see you here, brother. And I've seen all your cheeky comments. You're more than welcome to take this backdrop anytime you like and give it a 9, mate. You know what I mean? You're more than welcome to. But no, I don't see, because I don't know, John. It looks like it's on the camera. It looks like it needs an iron, but up against my wall, it doesn't. So maybe it's just an optical illusion. Let's see how that goes. Yeah. So thanks, John ZD351 for joining us. Ellen Tom, my mum, has joined us again. Thank you very much. Holly Lewis, thank you for joining us, Holly. Greg Roberts Tune, thank you for joining us. I've seen all your comments floating through there. We had Ryan Hall joining us. Thank you for that. We have had, and probably still here, Mark Tanner. Thank you, Mark, for joining us. Quinton James joined us there for a little while. I think he's still there. I'm not sure. But thank you for joining us. There's quite a few. Hugh Caldwell. Hugh. Thank you, Hugh, for joining us again. Hobo Roadie. We've got Hobo Roadie in the house. Just going through. There's been a lot of chat here, which is great. Some bloke called Simon Williams, which, he
spamming.
We got to lock him out. Johnny Heartbreaker was in the chats. We had, I think I've got everyone. Just double checking, but I think I've got. If I've forgotten you, it's only because I've scrolled past you, and I do apologise. But thank you for joining us, everyone, and anyone who's watching this later. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you got this far, please hit a subscribe button. Make sure you hit the subscribe. Please, anyone else that's watching still, give us a thumbs up. Share our channel. We're creeping slowly towards the 10K mark. So
the magic 10K mark.
Getting there. Nelson, I'm not sure if I mentioned you, but thank you, Nelson, as well. Arvin, I'm just double checking I've got everyone. But thanks again, guys, for joining us. We've had a fun show today. And thanks, Simon, for picking the album.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And we'll go and check out Kenny Wayne Shepherd after I go and take my dog for a walk. Awesome. The album's out now.
Yeah. Contemporary.
Yeah, cool.
Another contemporary record.
All right, guys. You guys are fantastic. We're out of here.
Okay.
Cool. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Have a good week. We'll see you next Sunday. Take it away, Eric, the orchestra leader.
I'm going to go play the Fool.
Well, you haven't been doing it on here.